there again, YouTube. It's once again I, your gothic host with the most, Knox Burzum, back to bring you more blasphemous banter. Today is day 8 of 40 Days of Night. Today I bring you The Inferno from 1980, rated R, of course. And after seeing this thing, yeah, definitely a rated R film. Story written again by Dario Argento and Daria Nicolodi. Screenplay by Dario Argento. Still based on Suspiria de Profundis, starring Leigh McCluskey as Mark Elliott, probably my favorite character in the movie, Irene Miracle as Rose Elliott, and Eleonora Giorgi as Sarah. Runtime of an hour and 46 minutes, so nowhere near as brutal as Suspiria from last night, but still up there. Thorough film. Very artsy-fartsy. Scary. Actually got me in the mood, but we'll get into all that in just a moment here. Let's get you a summary from IMDb first, shall we? 3 years after the events of Suspiria, a new group of people is being watched in a New York City apartment building by a mysterious and evil force hell-bent on revenge. Riddled with secret and horrid suspicion, young American poet Rose Elliott writes to her brother, Mark, himself a student of musicology in Rome, about startling findings in the basement of her Art Deco apartment building. Prowling around the cryptic knowledge hidden in the book, The Three Mothers, Rose is convinced that her building is actually on an ancient coven, or is rather an ancient coven for Mother Tenebrarum, the malevolent mother of darkness. Love how fucking goth that is. Seriously, and just such an evil fucking name. I love it. The Mother of Darkness. Little by little, as the two delve deeper and deeper into the occult, a mysterious disappearance and an endless story of gruesome killings will bring Mark closer to a surreal nightmare. Which, I'm gonna let you know right now, the end of this thing is just fucking wild. Like, it's a good time. Obviously, blood, gore, violence, severe, scary scenes, severe, drug use, mild to moderate if anything, and language, well, it's a translated Italian film, so they can kind of say whatever they want. It's not why we're here. Any rate, very interesting movie. It was really neat to see the similarities between the original Suspiria and Inferno. It was actually very obvious that Dario Argento had made both films, which I guess it really should have been pretty obvious because he's a very specific kind of director. The same kind of things happen in every one of his films. One of the things that I found most interesting was the use of colors to connotate either what kind of a feeling you should be getting about a scene, or to connotate whether a character was in danger, or if they had just discovered something, like just a mystery essentially, or if evil was nearby, or I can't remember all the different things that it was used for. There were several different color schemes that were used. It was really kind of interesting because some of the time, because of the way that the angles are set up in the movie, one color will only hit one side of a wall. So it'll look a little bit like a video game where a character is moving from one area to the next. And it'll sort of be like, it's moving onwards in the chapter that is the game level. So that's kind of neat. Apparently, as my wife was looking into this movie, and she's not here tonight because she has a terrible fucking migraine, barely got through this thing with me. Some of the trivia she was looking up in and about this movie does include that I guess the main gripe that most people have about this film is that it is not very clear what's going on at any point in time given in the movie. And I do unfortunately have to agree with that. At no time in the film, except for probably the beginning third of it, So the first 25 to 30 minutes, like total, you can mostly tell what's going on. After that, to be honest, there's a lot of camera work that's being used to kind of hide budgetary constraints or like technical constraints. And the storyline that was written is very nonverbal. It's very much one of those situations where you are expected to be able to draw conclusions from things going on inside of the story. Like there is a character in it, a guy who is crippled, who is just kind of an asshole up to and until the time that he meets a very bloody and gruesome end. And he does some terrible things to some cats. And he says and acts in very awkward ways and kind of mean ways to people, and just generally an unpleasant character. But like there's certain things going on with him the entire time that kind of give you clues as to what's about to happen to him, apparently. And like I couldn't really tell what was going on at all with him. I didn't know why the camera was following him. I didn't really want to see him do that stuff to the cats. There is nothing like violent that you see happen to them, but he does try to drown a bag full of cats, and it's not very pleasant to watch. But then he almost gets his head cut off, so that's pretty great, right? It is a very aesthetically pleasing movie, though. The effects I feel have held up pretty well. Again, the same kind of blood was used in this as was used in the first film. I think it's that Hammer horror type blood. It's very bright red. Looks a little bit like syrup. It's kind of a famous stage prop, so again, kind of a fun fact about it. You can kind of tell that this was like, I think Dario originally meant to make all 3 chapters of this film series individually, and you can sort of tell that he had a vision for this, but not quite a plot line. It's interesting. I like how at the very end, all 3 mothers coalesce into one being, and she becomes death. It's really cool. Sets the entire building on fire. I, in general, give this film probably a good a 7 out of 10. It's very aesthetically pleasing. It's very hard to follow visually. You will probably get lost a couple of times and just find yourself sort of guessing what's going on. And it's also part of the reason why I'm having so much trouble like describing what I just witnessed, because it is a lot like looking at art. It sort of is a passive act, and to be completely honest, everyone I think is going to kind of get something different out of it. I'm not even 100% certain that there is any one specific like way that you're supposed to take the film. And it's very difficult to tell in the film when things are supposed to be kind of being sort of happening in almost a dreamlike state, or when they're supposed to be 100% happening in reality. Like there's this part very early on in the movie wherein Rose starts poking around in the basement of her building, for instance, and she drops her keys into what appears to be a pool of water, and when she reaches her arm through, you realize that it's like an entire floor of this apartment building that's just completely sunken. Like, it's underwater and there's bodies floating around in it that fish have obviously been stripping of their skin. It's so creepy and it's so bizarre, and I just like I had no idea what the fuck I was watching, and neither did Val. And it's kind of weird because like all of a sudden we're both like, so is this a dream that she's having, or is this a vision, or is this actually going on? Because there's nothing really to explain what goes on before or after that scene. Except that that's when she runs into one of the guys in her building and gets him to spend some time with her. Like, nothing happens between them, but it seemed as though she had strange visions while she was hanging out with the guy of, like, something happening to him. Interestingly, you do actually see the witch's arm, like, several times throughout this movie. Apparently, according to Val, that's actually Dario Argento's arm. He had some sort of a glove made for the part specifically, and I guess that is Dario himself acting as the witch. So, that was kind of fun. There's really nothing to spoil, because so much of it is sort of left up to interpretation. If you really like Giallo films and you really like genuinely spooky fucking horror movies from Italy, I highly recommend this film. Even though it is only 7 out of 10, again, that's just because the plot wasn't written super ultra well. But the aesthetics are there, and, like, you can draw your conclusions if you watch it carefully. It's not that difficult. It's just a little difficult to know where in the narrative you actually are at any given time, which does get frustrating, I will admit that. But, like I said, 7 out of 10. And I think if you're a Giallo fan, if you're a fan of Italian horror films, if you're a fan of Dario Argento, you really owe it to yourself to go watch the fucking Inferno. Peace, love, heavy fucking metal. Keep on watching spooky, fucked up movies. I am Knox Burzum. Enter the void. Like, comment, subscribe. Bye.